This is Andi Purewal for Boxing News. I'm joined by former World Cruiserweight Champion Johnny Nelson here in London. Johnny, good to see you once again. It's a busy start to the year. How are you finding it?
Loving it. And you know what? We're in the Dorchester. What an unbelievably beautiful place. I boxed here a lifetime ago. Never changed. Always flush. Always makes you feel as though you're in London. But yeah, good place to have the presser today.
Here we are in London, as you say. Natasha Jonas, Lauren Price headlining this card. An interesting one on that front, being down here in London, the main event, when Natasha's from Liverpool, Lauren's from Wales. What are your thoughts on ending up in the capital?
This is another historic event for women's boxing. I think the whole bill is stacked with exciting fights that, and believe it or not, as far as I'm concerned, I think probably we'd do a 50-50 on the best fights we've had last year. That were the women's fights, and I think a bill to put everybody on parade to say this what it's going to be about, to inspire, to lift others. I think it's a great bill, and so I think it being down here in London, why not? The Albert Hall, another place I boxed at yesteryear. What a great iconic venue.
That main event, obviously Natasha Jonas in the final throes of her career now, Lauren Price looking to gain that status as being one of the best female boxers. What comes out on top? Is it that age, the experience of Natasha Jonas? Is it the youth and that excitement of Lauren Price?
That's exactly it. It's age, the experience. Natasha obviously had the experience and the maturity, and Lauren's coming through. She has the appetite. She has the pace. She has the power. She has the right attitude. So you can understand how you weigh it up. And so it's going to take a calm, cool head from Natasha to try and control a young lioness that's coming to put it on her, because Lauren is who Natasha used to be. So Natasha's got to understand, she's got to use her experience, all her experiences, good and bad, to have the wisdom to try and control that lioness that's coming towards her. That's why it's such an intriguing fight.
Do you feel for Tasha in the sense that obviously she wanted a higher profile now, no disrespect to Lauren, maybe that profile that she has doesn't match, say, the Michaela Mayer fight that she wanted?
I understand that. At the back end of your career, you want headline fights where you want a big name. But then again, you know what, if she's at that level to deal with the big names, then she should get the job done. Or she's getting in there with a young... Remember when... And I'm not making a comparison. Remember when Floyd Mayweather boxed Canelo, and then you look at what Canelo went on to do later on in time. So you realise how good that win was for Floyd. This might be one of those occasions. You know, is Natasha smart enough to outfox, out talent a talented lioness in Lauren? Then Lauren goes on to do amazing things, or is Lauren too much? You don't know. It's just an intriguing fight.
By the time this interview goes out, Johnny will have had the rest of the cards announced, but Karis Hartingstall and Raven Chapman, just your thoughts on that one?
Again, I think, you know, as I'm saying, the whole bill is a great bill. And there's some intriguing fights on there where it's not a done deal. There are fights on there where you think, wow, you know. And so for me, here in the capital, to have such fights, for Karis back in the mix again, I saw walking earlier on. She's actually just walking behind us now. You know, I think it's really good.
Johnny, over the next couple of weeks, two of the biggest talents up in the 140 pounds division from the UK will fight. We have Dalton Smith this week up in your home city of Sheffield, and then the following week we have Adam Azim in London. Johnny, when you're asked about Dalton and Adam, are your loyalties torn?
They're not torn. I'll just say how it is. It doesn't matter. Let's get it right. Just if I think someone's going to beat the other, it doesn't mean I dislike the other. I'm just giving my opinion, and I think Dalton Smith is an unbelievable talent, but so is Adam, and so this is one of those where it can fall either way. And you know, most of the time when Adam's fighting, I'm thinking, wow, that's a done deal. But get him in with Dalton again, you can't see who will win and lose. You can see why both fighters would turn it over. So that's why the fight is so intriguing. I don't have a problem, you know, saying if I thought one would win over the other. I think Dalton has shown the talent he's got, and he's very comfortable in his shoes, where Adam's improving day by day, job by job. So again, you know, that's just how it is.
Do you have a favourite? Say if they were to meet after their next respective bouts, do you have a favourite going into that one?
No, I don't. I think I love the journey of Adam. I love the skill I love the skill of his opponent. So therefore, no, not really. I don't have a favourite. I just think it'd be a great fight and the fans will win. Dalton's a great fighter, and so is Adam.
The UK were waiting for many a year for Cal Brook and Amir Khan to cross paths. Do you think that there's a risk that this one just takes a little too long to get over the line?
I think we're past that stage. I think Ben's a young guy, and Ben is a risk taker. And so therefore, there's certain risks that are going to have to be taken with these fighters. I think he's brave enough to do that. I think Shane McGuigan, he's got a lot of confidence in his fight, and if he believes his fight can be a world champion, I don't think Shane McGuigan will have a problem with it either. Whereas Dalton Smith again, you've got both fights that won it. I think this fight would happen sooner rather than later. Might be within the year, might be within 2, but it will happen. You know, at the time when both fighters are a handful.
Mentioning that name, Ben, the last name of Conor Benn versus Chris Eubank Jr. seems to be a formality now for April. Just your thoughts when they cross paths?
Brilliant fight. Listen, I've always been a fan of Conor Benn. Let's get that elephant out of the room. I think Conor Benn at one point was one of the fastest improving UK fighters we'd seen until Scandal popped his head up. And so unfortunately it put a stop to his development, his consistency of development in his career. So that's the only reason why I'd go against him in this fight against Chris, because he's not been active enough, ring active enough. Whereas you look at Chris he'd lost and turned that round against Smith, but then Chris in his last fight he still looked like he had control, but I just thought you've got to be a bit more aggressive, you've got to be a bit more busy when you're getting in there with Conor Benn. I don't know what Conor Benn's doing behind closed doors, but if Conor Benn was being kept the consistency that he had up to the point of his career being stopped in its strikes, I'd have sided with Conor Benn. I think it's a good fight, and you can see why both fighters would win.
Johnny, do you understand, like, from some of the public's perception of what happened with Conor and those failed tests, it's left a bad smell around the fight, and not necessarily a great look that the fight's become bigger because of what happened?
No. The fight, to me, I like the fight. I was actually with Simon Jordan yesterday. He said he ain't going to go to the fight. Oh, yeah, mate, good. I ain't going to go to the fight. But I said, Simon, it's still a good fight, regardless of where it is. And unfortunately, you know, I said it before. You look at people that failed the drug test: Dylan White, Tyson Fury, Roy Jones, Canelo, and they've bit the bullet and moved on. And you talk about it, but it's not the next thing that comes out of your mouth when you mention those names. Unfortunately for Conor's in that position where it's the next sentence that comes out of your mouth when you mention his name. So in saying that, he's got to get past that. And I actually thought initially, Conor, just bite the bullet, take the ban and get on with your career. And he didn't. So it makes me now think, wow, you know, you're stuck to your guns and said, no, I ain't biting the bullet. That didn't happen. And, you know, it's put a stop to the development of his career. So I now start to doubt what I personally thought. But you know what? Unfortunately, time will tell its own story. And like everybody else, you know, it gives people something to talk about, the ban. But time will move on. It's happened before. It's not right. Either way, there needs to be a hard, fast, drawn line in regards to it. But until there is, people get over it like they did with Canelo and Roy Jones. That's what happened.
After I see Johnny, there's a lot of talk about Canelo and Terence Crawford squaring off at the back end of this year in September. A big weight disparity there for Terence Crawford to overcome if he was to face him next. But do you give him much of a chance, or do you think it's just a step too far?
I think it's a step too far. I think Crawford's a good fighter. I think Canelo is not the fighter he was probably 3 or 4 years ago, but the fighter is peaks 99% of the fighters that are out there. And for Crawford stepping up, it's a big name, it's a big fight, but Canelo, I just think he might have too much for him, and I would lean towards Canelo.
With the heavyweight division, Anthony Joshua, Deontay Wilder is doing the rounds against in Turkey. Al Sheikh mentioned that as a potential fight. Do you still hold an interest in that fight, Johnny?
Any fight that Anthony Joshua is in, he holds an interest out of curiosity. Deontay Wilder, is it as dangerous as what it originally was muted to be when Deontay Wilder was when his height? No, but there's always a risk there. and Turkey has said he'd like to see that fight. We don't know if that fight will happen. You know, we had a showmance between Martin Bakole and Anthony Joshua, and that was a showmance. Again, I don't believe that had happened because the risk reward doesn't weigh up. I still pose the question: why has everybody forgot about him fighting Danny Dubois again? You know, the reason why the fight didn't happen is because he had an injury. So you can't have an injury for Danny Dubois but not for somebody else. So why would you not want to try and chase that legacy and get the title back, or get there and be a 3-time world heavyweight champion? So people are forgetting that. So does that say they don't think they'll beat Danny Dubois? So that means he's going in as a mercenary. He's going where the money is instead of trying to tick the box and be a 3-time heavyweight champion. So there's a lot of contradiction going on in regards to who Anthony Joshua boxes next. You might think, you know what, this is business now. I don't believe he or Tyson Fury will be boxing at the end of this year. And so,
Do you believe Fury's retirement is the final one?
I don't believe the retirement, but I don't believe they'll be boxing this time next year. I think they'll have both retired. They've made a lot of money, done amazing things in our sport, and especially AJ. He's repped, man. He's repped on every level, and what he's done is unbelievable, and people seem to forget that. Unfortunately, the job he's in, he's going to get criticised when he does good, and he's going to get criticised when he does bad. His job is to ignore us, and our job is to criticise, and that's what the public do.
I know you've just mentioned both of them not boxing towards the back end of this year, but do you think a Fury-Joshua fight will come to fruition at some point in 2025?
Yes, I do. Without a doubt, I do believe the fight will happen. I do believe that. I felt like the boy that cried wolf when Tyson Fury said he'd retired. I thought this is the 4th time. So I do think the fight will happen, and because they both know, as businessmen and sportsmen, they understand this is the biggest fight out there for both of them financially. Because what else is there? You know, you might go and box XYZ, but if you lose to anybody XYZ, it means financially the fight between each other, you know, depreciates, the value drops, and so I do believe it happens.
Martin Bakole, you mentioned earlier, his fight with FA Ajagba has been announced by Turkey Al Sheikh. What's your thoughts on it?
Again, Martin Bakole is in the Who Needs Him club. Everybody avoids him like the plague. So now he's going to be put in fights where he's going to be tested, really tested, where people will give him the credit where it's deserved. So if he is going to beat people like Usyk, like he says he has put him down, or Joshua or whatever, then he's got to be in fights where people think, all right, I believe, because right now it's word of mouth. Right now, I've heard a lot about this guy, I've seen this, XYZ. So you want to see him turn somebody over and you think, wow, shit, he's in that club, Who Needs Him club. So it's a good fight.
And just last one from me, Johnny. Next week we have David Benavidez and David Morrell. Obviously, David Benavidez far more experience in the pros, but David Morrell, that standout amateur experience. A fantastic matchup. Who do you favour? Who do you think will come out on top?
You'd want to go with the experience of Benavidez, but it's a case of what he's got left. It's a case of again controlling the pace of the younger book that's in front of you. But I'd lean towards Benavidez.
Johnny, I appreciate your time. Thanks for speaking to me. I'll see you soon.
Anytime, man.